Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker and today we'll be taking a look at the top 16 deck lists for the Disney Lorcana Challenge in Toronto, Canada. There were 961 players and this was a bit of a peculiar event because Shimmering Sky Set 5 was not legal. If that may be a surprise to some people because it is out, but it was not legal for this event, so you won't see it in any of these deck lists. Plus it was the first and only the first DLC after Bucky's errata, so obviously there was an expectation that but Bucky is pretty much gone. I'd be very surprised if we see him again anytime soon, short of us getting a Floodborn target for him. But yeah, I mean, like, even though a lot of players have moved on to Set 5 and like they've lost interest in Set 4 meta, I was super interested and had my eye on this because Set 3 was such a good meta, and I really think the only problem with Set 4 was Bucky, which made it a shall we say an unfun meta, at least in my opinion. But with the absence of Bucky in Set 4 cards, I was thinking that it was looking like it was going to be a pretty open meta, and that was indeed the case. We're not going to spend too long looking at, we're going to look at every deck list, but we're not going to spend too long breaking down individual cards necessarily, because that meta is done now. The next DLC will be Set 5 format, so I don't see any need in harboring on it for too long. But of course, we want to take a look at the deck lists, and of course, it's my honor to sort of document the top cut players for the Disney Lorcana challenges. So of course we're still going to do it, and we will also take a very brief look at this sheet that was prepared by Nive the Nerd over on Twitter and YouTube. They'll be linked down below. Shout out to them very much, one of Lorcana's numbers guys, and yeah, prepared this great document giving us an idea of the meta share, which we're not going to harbor on for too long. Feel free to pause and take a longer look if you so wish. But yeah, just sort of breakdown of all the different decks. Ruby Amethyst, 216 players, only 13 making it through today too, though, which I do think is underperforming considering it was that much the meta share. Amber Steel having a great tournament, 168 pilots, 21 players making it through today too. Ruby Sapphire, 110 and 7 making it through, which I think is fair. And then we've got Amber Emerald as the 4th most represented deck, 87 players and 6 of them making it through to top 64, which I think is a fantastic achievement. Sapphire Steel also doing really well with 70 pilots and 7 of them making day 2. And yeah, Amethyst Emerald is an ink combination which a lot of players are really big fans of, and it was very much that Bucky that had his foot on that ink combination mostly. So with the absence of Bucky, it was no surprise to see a lot of players keen to bring this along. 84 players, 4 making it through to day 2. A little bit disappointing that, where is it? Yeah, Amber Ruby, 61 pilots, none of them making it through to top 64. No Mufasa, upset. That's Mufasa. But nonetheless, feel free to pause and take a more in-depth look at that if you like. But we're going to move on and take a look at these lists. A quick shout out to the channel sponsor, Cardmarket. If you're looking for Lorcana singles at competitive rates, then check out Cardmarket. But let's take a look at the top 16 deck lists. Alright, so starting us off in first place, our Disney Lorcana Challenge Toronto champion, we have level 9001, rocking that Amber Emerald that we were just highlighting, that was so highly represented at the tournament in general. Love to see this. This is a deck that I know a lot of people have had their eyes on as something that could really break out as soon as Bucky got his darn foot off his neck. And yeah, here we see it going all the way. Absolutely love it. This deck really largely revolving around with the Under the Sea, Sing Together, 8 card. Multiple characters can exert to sing this. Put all opposing characters to 2 strength or less at the bottom of their player's deck in any order, which is already a significant amount of the field. We're running Painting the Roses red that can lower characters' strength, and more importantly, Keeda that lowers the strength of all characters by 3 on play, which gets pretty much everything that you're going to see into range. There are a couple of exceptions, Maui, maybe 1 or 2 other things that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head, but largely you're going to get everything into range for your Under the Sea. Other than that, a big discard package. We're running 4 copies of Prince John's that we're drawing whenever they discard. 1 copy of Daisy, who makes them discard on play. 1 Lucifer, that makes them discard 2 on play, or just an action. 4 Sudden Shields. 3 copies of You Have Forgotten Me. 4 copies of We Don't Talk About Bruno, which is also just board control. Also running 2 copies of that Hidden Code, which I really rate in this deck. Again, we're running the 4/4 Diablo, so keep that out of Brawl range, out of Baboon range. Even in the mirror for opposing Under the Seas, keeps the Muses out of that as well, out of things like Under the Sea. Obviously, she's ward, so she can't be targeted, but she can be removed by Under the Sea. And Big C Sisu as well in Ruby decks. Like, this can be super weak. This deck can be super weak too. So Hidden Cove is certainly going to help with that. 4 copies of Sahis is just a really consistent singer. And of course, the Evasive does help, being able to take out opposing Diablos at the Cove. We've got Aerials here to find songs, Ursulas. 1 copy of Be Our Guest looks absolutely fantastic, and it's great to see this actually take the crown at DLC. And I think in set 5, Amber Emerald is set to do more amazing things. So congratulations to level 9001. Now, like I said, 6 Amber Emerald decks made it into day 2, 2 making it all the way to top 16. They're playing a deck very largely similar to the one we just looked at. They're maxed out on the Daisy Ducks in particular. There's an extra copy of Cricky here, but other than that, trying to do the same sort of thing. So huge congratulations to them. Going back to second place, the first of 4 SteelSong lists. SteelSong consistently performing well at Disney Lorcana challenges, and this version piloted by David. We're seeing the 4/4 Queen line, only 3 copies of the Ballroom Sensation Cinderella, 1 copy of that Stout Hearted. We're seeing the 3 Ursulas here, so more consistent, hoping more consistently to have our songs online. We are a flute variant, so this makes much more sense than something like Piglet, Pooh Pirate Captain. I always end up saying that wrong. We're seeing those 2 copies of Lawrence in here, which is good for checking opposing Flynns. Stays out of the range of Brawls and Medusas, again, assuming he has no damage on him. Questing for 2, just consistently finding his way into a lot of SteelSong decks, just very well statted. We're seeing that 4/4 Robin Hood line, 3 copies of the World's Greatest Criminal Minds to combine with, to synergize with our Queens. A pretty standard song package, 2 copies of Zeus, 2 copies of Grab Your Swords, and I've already mentioned those 4 Sleepy's Flutes that, of course, we're exerting whenever we play these songs. So yeah, nothing groundbreaking here in terms of new, but SteelSong does what it does so very well, and this looks like a fantastic build and led all the way to second place by David, so clearly a very talented pilot, so congratulations to them. Going into top 8, also on SteelSong, we have, I believe this is Felipe. I apologise if I'm saying that wrong. We're seeing the 4 Ballroom Sensation Cinderella and 2 Stout Hearted. No Queen line in here, but still 1 World's Greatest Criminal Mind. There's still targets like Maleficent, Maui, Tamatoa, things like that. We're a flute variant, only playing 3 of the flute, but as such, we're playing the 3 Ursula Vanessa. No piglets in here. Standard characters, the 4 Rapunzel. We're seeing 1 copy of Benja to take out opposing items. 1 copy of Surfer Stitch to be an additional way of drawing if we don't want to fully commit to the whole new world, or we're not able to get the Rapunzel online. 1 copy of that aerial Sonic Warrior, who whenever you play a song, you can pay 2 to deal 3 damage to a chosen character, and she's so well statted. Like, obviously she hates Medusa, but outside of that, like, she can be really tough to remove with that 8 willpower, so you'll have to see it. 4 Bear, standard songs here, 3 Zeus, only 1 copy of Grab Your Swords. We're also seeing 2 copies of Look at This Family, 7 cost Inkable Sing Together 7. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 2 characters and put them into your hand. So find that Stout Hearted when it's time to shift and start questing, or because you need to be challenging something that's ready, or finding that Rapunzel when the time is right, finding the Benja when the time is right. This, I think, I just really rate Look at This Family. And I did manage to watch some of the stream live. I'm eventually gonna try, hopefully some of it is available elsewhere to watch the full thing. But I watched some of it live, and I don't know if it was necessarily this person, but it was a SteelSong player that was using Look at This Family, which seemed to be putting in a lot of work. And 1 particular play that really helped them was, I think their opponent went Lyle bounce Lyle, something like that. Reckless putting in a lot of work in this tournament. I said it would. I said it. We've been sleeping on Reckless, but yeah, this Look at This Family being able to take both of those Reckless characters and then just sing, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, deck looks fantastic. Congratulations to them. Going into top 16, we've got Brad not playing those flutes, instead opting for the Piglet, Pooh Pirate Captains, but 1 copy of Ursula, just because, again, she's a great singer for things like Zeus, Storm, Strength for a Raging Fire. We are seeing that Queen line. We're seeing 3 copies of Cinderella Stout Hearted. I really like that. Like, that's a big aggressive body, and having more, like, being able to follow up with Cinderella Stout Hearted if they get over 1, or just press the board if they don't have access to things like Be Prepared with multiple, then that sounds like a lot to get through. So I really like that high count. 2 copies of World's Greatest, obviously great synergy with the Queens. Everything else looking at pretty standard, so congratulations to Brad. And finally, in top 16, we have Kevin, who's running the exact same list as the top 8 list by Felipe. So yeah, potentially friends or testing partners, either way, clearly this is a list to pay some attention to. So huge congratulations to Kevin. That's all of our SteelSong lists. One interesting point is, I think, is the lack of Golden Harp, because that seemed to perform super, super well in Bologna, and none of them making it through to top 16. There may be some that made day 2 that were running the Golden Harp, but yeah, certainly interesting bit of data to take into account. But nonetheless, congratulations to our SteelSong players. Going back to top 4, then we have the first of our 2 Sapphire Steel decks. Now, 7 of them making it through to top 4, but only piloted by 70 players is low, in my opinion. I would have expected more players to be repping these colours, but nonetheless, 7 making it through from 70 is pretty good, and 2 all the way to top 16. And then we have Faux QC in top 4. A lot of cookie cutter stuff going on here. We've got the dimes, the quills, the standard items, 4 Port 4, Fortisphere, 3 Grab Your Swords, which I really like, and 4 Whole New World, 3 Let It Go to get rid of big bodies, Tamatoas, Cinderellas, things like that, 2 Zeus, 2 Rise of the Titans for those pesky Queen's Castles, or even just opposing lucky dimes and items, 3 copies of Baboom, great for Flynn Riders, and check those early shift lines like Queen, Robin Hood, things like that, 2 copies of the Intellectual Powerhouse, who's creeping back into more and more Sapphire Steel decks. Just like on turn 4, it's a great drop to be able to just like find an extra card. Like the problem with Sapphire decks tends to be running out of things to do, so Gaston helps you with that, and he's got a great stat line, and questing for 3 is really good, especially in combination with Dime. We're seeing 3 copies of that Chen Pao. I called this Chen Pao the first time it came out, and I was told by someone, oh, it's not, it's Chen Po. Chen Pao's a Pokemon, which it is. But I recently rewatched Mulan again, and they call him Chen Pao, so I'm just saying. But yeah, 3 copies of this. Great stat line and bodyguard for protecting our more important characters like Tinkerbells, Tamatoas, Flavishams, Cogsworth if we dare quest with him, things like that. 4/7 is great. He's out of Zeus, and out of Medusa. 1 copy of Beast Tragic Hero. Hey, if you can get it off, then this is great as another way of building some resources. 2 copies of the Hard-Headed Beast. Again, 5 cost characters are very valuable in this deck, and it's a great stat line. Questing for 2, you'd love to see it. Cogsworth doing Cogsworth things, Flavisham doing all the draw, Mickey for ramp, Smee and Argus here to be a check for Flynn Rider and help you against early Queen's Castles, things like that, and for Tinkerbell as well. So yeah, pretty standard Sapphire Steel. Congratulations to them. And our other Sapphire Steel deck also in top 4, so a very good tournament for that in combination. A few differences here. We're running 1 copy of the Simba Fighting Prince, who on play and on banishing another character in a challenge, you can either draw 2 and discard 2 or do 2 damage to an opposing character. We're seeing those 2 Argus. We're seeing 1 copy of Belle, so that's certainly going to help out in the mirror, just having another aggressive quester that can get you there. 2 copies of Grand Martala for more draw. And she can sing Along Came Zeus. 1 copy of Smash here, which I do like for things like Ariel, Ursa Deceiver of All, things like Diablo at the Cove. Like, I can absolutely understand wanting to have a copy of this. But the most spicy thing here is absolutely the 2 copies of Pyros, Lava Titan. 5 cost Ingable, 5/4, quest for 1, and Eruption. During your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may ready chosen character. This is one of the very rare cards that lets you ready a chosen character and then does not say they cannot quest for the rest of the turn. So that could be super good if you're able to get an additional quest off with Tamatoa, even just Simba and Tinkerbell and Cogsworth, things like that, or maybe you're just singing another song, like doing an extra Let It Go or Grab Swords or Whole New World or whatever. I can absolutely imagine this put in some work, and that has been proven. It made it all the way to top 4. So is Pyros a character that we're going to start seeing pop up more after these results? We shall see, but huge congratulations to Nick. Next up in top 8, we've got some EA Tempo. Just win the game. As I said, I know a lot of players were very excited to be able to dust off the old EA Tempo. And yeah, performing super, super well. I think we've got 3 in the top cut. Lots of 1-drops here. The Merfolk, no Flynn Riders in here. Before Pegasus, 2 Chernabog. Pretty standard bounce package. 4 copies of Maleficent for that consistency. 4 copies of Sir Hiss, great for dealing with Diablo at Cove. We're seeing 2 copies of Peter Pan Shadow, who's another answer to Diablo. I don't know how much I like the Peter Pan Shadow, but a lot of the EA decks seem to be playing it, so clearly putting some work for them. I love the 2 copies of Jack, giving Reckless on play. Honestly, if I was playing EA, I would probably try and find room for Lyle and Jack. I think Reckless is super good and will continue to be good in Shimmering Skies. So yeah, love this. 4 copies of Kit for some more board control. 2 copies of that Ursula, Sea Witch Queen, who can shift on top of our 2-drop. top. And yeah, such a strong card. She's got a great stat line. She's had a Medusa. She's had a Zeus. Questing for 3. Exerting an opposing character on quest. And just shutting down our opponent from singing songs, which against SteelSong and a lot of the time Sapphire Steel as well, that's really going to offset their tempo. So and 4 Queen's Castle. So yeah, great to see EA Tempo doing very well. Our second list also in top 8 by Jacob, a much more aggressive build here. We're running 4 copies of the Diablo. We're also running 4 copies of Maleficent Biding Her Time, along with the 4 Cursed Merfolk and 4 Pegasus and 3 Chernobog's followers. So 15 1-drops, so we should never be missing. But not only that, just if our opponent has slower starts, just increase our capability to go on turn 2, 2 1-drops, or on turn 3, a 2-drop and a 1-drop. And just be able to just play out more of your hand early and just really race if they have slower starts. So I can absolutely understand why this put in work, and whenever you see a deck list on only 2 lines, you can just tell it's going to be consistent. So yeah, looks great. Also seeing that Floodborn Pegasus here, huge congratulations to Jacob. And then our last EA Tempo deck, we've got Lofi TCG. They are opting to play 3 copies of that Lyle Tiberius Rock, who I've super rated. Also 1 copy of Don Carnage. I know Zach Bivens also played EA Tempo for this event. It was so unfortunate that they did not make day 2. But they were playing this deck combination. They were also rocking the Don Carnage, 5-cost Inkable 4/4 Quest for 2 and Evasives. Super good. But my favourite card in this deck is absolutely the 2 copies of John Silver, Alien Pirate, 6-cost Inkable 5/5 Quest for 2. On play and on quest, give an opposing character Reckless, which, as again, I keep saying, I think is super, super good. Nice low end for Sherna, for Broom, for Cursed Merfolk, also the 4 Flynn in here. Standard bounce package, 2 copies of Crab for some more board control, 3 of the Sea Witch Queen, 1 copy of Cricky. Looks super, super good. Congratulations to them. Going back to top 8, we have the first of 2 Ruby Sapphire lists that made the top 16. And this first one, no stranger to Disney Lorcana Challenge success. We have Din, who has now made at least top 16 at 3 separate Disney Lorcana challenges, and is the first ever player to qualify for both the European and the North American championships, which is an incredible accomplishment. They've done it with pretty much the same deck all 3 times. I think this is, they may have made minor changes between the first and second, but I think this is the most changes that they've made, but it's not even a lot. They're no longer playing the 5-cost Rush Hercules, which I interviewed Din in Bologna, and he said for most of his day of Swiss, all day he wanted it to be just anything inkable. But he also premised that by saying, but hey, like if I run into, like it may end up saving me against a Queen's Castle or something, so I may not regret running it. Opted to just take it out completely for this event. Has also taken out, they were running the Queen of Hearts, the 2-cost 2/2 with Rush, instead playing 3 copies of Pegasus, which is going to help with Diablo and Diablo at Cove. And they were playing 1 Great Stone Dragon and only 3 Quill, and they've gone up to the full 4 Quill. But yeah, taking out the Hercules, as much as I like the Hercules, I think it's understandable, because these 2 Vitalosphere are I think are just better. Helps you get more characters into range to take out the castle, or just giving them, giving Tamatoa Rush and +2, or Sisu, they both deal with it. Maleficent only needs the Rush, Maui only needs the +2. There's plenty of ways you can do it. Vitalosphere really good, and of course Din being renowned for their love of Dig a Little Deeper. Sing Together 8. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck, put 2 into your hand and the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. And from what I could tell from following him on social media, it was another event where this Dig a Little Deeper put in an awful lot of work, helping him find his dime, his Tabatoa, whatever it is that he needed at the time. 2 copies of this Big Sisu, which is definitely going to put in a lot of work against these SteelSong decks, these EA Tempo decks, and these Emerald Amber decks. This Sisu can absolutely wipe boards. 3 Medusa, 4 Flavisham, 4 Tala, who can sing the 4 copies of How Far I'll Go, 4 Developed Brain, 3 Maleficent, everything else looking pretty standard here. So huge congratulations on yet another huge accomplishment for Din. And our other Ruby Sapphire deck, in top 16, we've got JC Me Rollin', who's playing a very similar list. They are on that 3 copies of Fishbone and 1 Great Stone Dragon, which obviously can be better in the later stages of the game, because it puts a character from your discard into your Inkwell, so it's not depleting your hand. Of course, it lives and dies by how many characters you have in your discard, and you can never get benefit from it on turn 3, because it enters exerted. But again, in the later stages of the game, it can be good good, so you don't have to deplete as much as your hand. Only 3 copies of How Far I Go. Rest of the items look the same. The 2 Dime, 4 Develop, 3 copies of the Big Sisu. No shift target in either of these decks. It's super interesting. 4 Medusa here. Only 3 copies of Be Prepared as well, but most of it looking pretty standard, so congratulations to them. Alright, moving on to top 16, the first of 3 Ruby Amethyst lists. So yeah, I think overall Ruby Amethyst underperformed, considering how much of the day 1 meta share it had, and not too many making it through to day 2, but 3 making it all the way to top 16, so that's still pretty good. First of all, we've got Dill Edge. On this day, I see clearly, and it's Toronto. Yo, it all fits. It all fits. Only wrestling fans know what the heck I'm talking about. But nonetheless, Ruby Amethyst. For our 1-shots, we've got those 4 Chernobog and 3 Magic Broom, the standard in most Ruby Amethyst lists throughout set 4. We are seeing those 4 Flynn to really help us against Ruby Sapphire and Sapphire Steel lists. 2 copies of Crab that are going to be super helpful in the mirror matchup. 3 Medusas. We're not seeing any Tremaines, but we're seeing those 2 copies of Be King Undisputed, which is kind of a disputed card ever since we lost Bucky, because it felt super safe when we had Bucky, because they would just Bucky on 2. It was far rarer that they were playing Ursa Deceiver on 2, and this is the problem. Like, if you draw into it, like, off your mulligan, it's hard to get out of your hand. It's uninkable, and that's on top of our before Be Prepared, the odds that if you do, like, an aggressive mulligan, that you're going to end up drawing back into one of these can really hurt you against green. But again, while we had Bucky, we didn't tend to care that much, because that would be their line. They wouldn't play Ursa until later on if they were trying to snipe something specific. But without Bucky, I think far more common you're going to see Ursa Deceivers come down on 2 against the green decks, which does make this feel a little worse. But in the mid to late game, if you can just draw into it later on, if you are like quite even Stevens and contending the board, this can help you push ahead. If you're already winning, this can help you stay there. Like every time your opponent develops, whether it be a Tamatoa or a Stout-Hearted, any time they can't extend, the Bee King is going to be super important, and I still really like it. I don't know how common they're going to remain in set 5, but I was even wondering how much you'd see them in this particular event without Bucky, how many players would feel safe. But 2 in this particular list, seeing 2 copies of the Big Sisu, again, really helpful against those lower to the ground decks, and everything else looking pretty standard RA, so congratulations to them. Also in top 16, we've got Koga Lorcana, the same 1-drops, but only 2 of the Broom, so only 6 1-drops overall, which is probably fine. 2 copies of Kuzco here, really nice synergy. Oh, I was about to say nice synergy with the Crab, but we're not playing any Crab, nor are we playing any Teeth and Ambitions, but hey, it can just help you build wide, and again, the card replacing itself is just a bit more consistency, running 4 Maleficent for consistency as well. 2 Flynn Rider seems low. I've been advocating for 3, but even that, like, I've been even questioning myself about that, because in some matchups you really want to maximize the odds that you're curving into that on 2. And 2 does seem low, but was enough to get them to top 16. 3 Medusa, we're seeing those 2 Bee Kings again, and 1 copy of Lady Tremaine. So like this particular build, I think would be as prepared as it can be into the Sapphire Steel and the Ruby Sapphire matchups. No Big Sisu does surprise me. I do think it's super good, but nonetheless, clearly didn't need it. Got them all the way. This deck got them all the way to top 16. So congratulations to them. And our last Ruby Amethyst list, we've got Jay, who is rocking 6 1-drops, opting for the 4 Olaf and 2 Mini, which I super like. Part of the reason for that is we're running 3 copies of Teeth and Ambitions, which I'm sure put in a lot of work, taking out Diablos, Flynns, breaking shift lines like 1-drop Robin Hood, Cinderella's Queens, things like that. I'm super high on Teeth and Ambitions at the moment, in combination with Brawl. And yeah, obviously the 1-3s have great synergy there. Also stops you just being popped off by a Fire the Cannons or a Baboom in times where you really need that 1-drop to perhaps get your Fox online or something like that. And obviously working really well with these 2 Crab that we're playing. Playing no copies of Bee King Undisputed, but 2 copies of Tremaine. So that's going to help us in our Sapphire Steel and Ruby Sapphire matchup. So yeah, we should feel a little bit safer against turn 2 Ursa Deceivers. Obviously the Teeth and Ambitions in themselves are songs, but if you're on the play, then you can just play it on turn 2 and put the damage on your 1-drop.